Hey, how's it going? We're going to be cooking some navy bean soup today. And to start things out, I'm going to wash some potatoes and peel them. The first step is already underway. Let me bring you over here and I'll show you. This is some navy beans. This is one bag. Um, It's 1 pound of navy beans. So, these soaked overnight already. So really you want these to soak in cold water. First you want to wash them. Just put them in a colander like this and rinse them in the sink. Pick out the bad ones, the ones that sink to the bottom or float to the top or are broken, anything you see, a rock or two. Usually you don't find anything, but I still look. Soak these overnight in cold water just like this. Just like that, and leave it. And then when you get up in the morning, you rinse them again. Because I do a double soak, okay? Because this is just the way that I learned how to do it. So I do a full double soak. So when I got up this morning, I put these in here and let them sit on the stove. No heat. You just let them sit for overnight. I get up in the morning. Just now, like about an hour ago, I washed these all off and everything again. I rinsed them in the sink again. I dumped that water out they soaked in last night, filled it back up with more cold water, and I rinsed them and they're soaking again. I know it sounds crazy, but it all pays off in the end. The next step is potatoes. So I'm going to be doing this, and you guys can watch, and I'll be talking. I'm telling you about, I guess, what I'm doing. See, I often forget that with this new phone that I have these abilities to film like longer videos. I used to only make really short videos because my old apparatus only enabled me to do short videos. I could even be doing this live at this point if I wanted to, but I'm okay just doing it like this. Maybe eventually I'll do videos like this live. If you're new, this is me right here. Hi, how are you? Will it come up more? I don't know. I don't really have to turn the camera around like I just did. I really, like I said, I've got this new camera and I forget that I can just, oh, sorry. Forget that if I wanted to, I could just go like, hey, I still have to bring you up higher. So, my name is Dave. This is the Meyer Greenblatt channel, but you could call me Meyer if you want. A lot of people do. This is what we're doing today. We're making navy bean soup, and I'm going to show you, we're going to do it in the way that I learned. Is that pretty good? So, this is my potato peeler. This is a good potato peeler. You want to have a good potato peeler. You want it to be like razor sharp. You don't want to have to like be struggling with your potato peeler. Let's move these guys out of the way. The other thing, close that thing up so you make sure you get all these potato things, all the skins out of the sink. Learning to cook and do stuff like this, like when I was a kid, it was the first time I probably peeled potatoes was probably when I was 6 or 7. And shucking corn, the same thing. Cooking was not like something I was super interested in, but it was a required skill that you needed to learn, like many other things, being a kid in my family. We even played a game around cooking that my older sister taught me. It was called playing restaurant. And what playing restaurant is that you pretended that you had a restaurant. And that the kitchen at your house, at my house, the kitchen at my house was the kitchen at the restaurant. So what we would do, my sister taught me this, is I would look through the kitchen and make a menu out of the things that were available. I would make a menu out of like construction paper, and I would write menu on the front, and I would put inside peanut butter and jelly, potato chips, glass of Kool-Aid, celery with peanut butter, right? Just like that sort of thing. And then the customers would come. Initially it was my sister was the first customer, but then this would get bigger and I would include kids in the neighborhood. We did it was fun. So the items would say like 1 cent, 3 cents, 5 cents, or something like that. Anyway, the customer comes, I pretend like I'm the maitre d' and I seat them and at my table in my house, at the dining room table, and then I pretend like I'm like a waiter, and I bring them the whole thing. Then I go and make the grilled cheese sandwich, or which came later, or the peanut butter and jelly and the chips, and bring it out and we would pretend like we were like adults at a restaurant. That was the entire thing. Then later on, let's see. So I was around the house like all of us were when we were kids, and so at certain times of the year when I had to be inside more is when she would like make me learn this stuff, like helping her do stuff, right? And then getting to lick the batter off of the mixer, right? Remember that? That was like my favorite thing, getting to lick the blades of the mixer when she was making a cake or something like that, right? So we got these 4 potatoes. So then, as I said, I wasn't really like a kid that was interested in cooking. It was just a necessity. It was just something that I needed to learn how to do. And so the skills that I had learned as a kid, turned out not everybody had those skills and had paid attention and had been in a situation where they had to learn them, right? So they came in handy later on. They came in handy in certain situations. So they came in handy around women, and they came in handy when I became a father and I had to raise kids, 2 teenage sons, right? Right? So, in a situation where I was living with this woman who had a nice house and a nice backyard with a swimming pool and a fire pit, right? Barbecue pit, a lot of maintenance that needed to be done. So this girl, I was living with her and dating her, and her best friend was always over there all the time, right? And so I started doing stuff and started whipping this stuff out. And they're like, and they used to call me Fish back then. They're like, damn, Fish. Fish can put it together, right? And so this was a popular skill to have around women who are comfortable. So then, when my kids are like 10 and 12 years old, I get full custody. Hold on. So my kids get to this certain age, right? And they start posing a constant, difficult problem for my ex-wife. And so I'm visiting every other weekend. I've got kids, every 2 weeks, but she needs more help. And at the same time, she's getting ready to remarry and kind of restart her life. So all of this stuff lined up perfectly for me because I wanted my kids full time. So suddenly, I have my kids full time, and I'm a full time dad, and they're around, and I have to cook, and I have to clean and run the whole household myself. And it's something that I had dreamed of, right? It's what I wanted, man. I wanted to do it. And it was great. That's what we did. And so all these skills came in really handy. It became like a major thing. I know you guys are watching me doing, why are you doing this the difficult way and risking cutting yourself? I don't know why. Because I'm at a difficult angle. I have the camera set up to the side. I mean, I could be doing this quicker in a different way. Doesn't matter. So my kids, I cooked for them a ton. And then my youngest son, who had tons of interests and tons of natural ability in all kinds of different areas, he ended up becoming a chef. And so my youngest son actually does this professionally. He is way better at, when it comes to using a knife or knowing how to chop things correctly, my son, the professional chef, he's a pro at this, and I'm just kind of messing around. I'm showing you the way that Dad learned to cook from his aunts and his mother. That's what this is. I learned how to do all this from my aunts and my mother. Here's what I'm thinking. These were big potatoes. I don't really need more potatoes than that for this bean soup. See, this is the type of thing that you come into in this situation. I'm okay with that amount of potatoes for 1 pound of beans because we still have to add a whole onion and a bunch of linguiça. So obviously that's going to cook down, but that is a lot of potatoes. So we're going to save these other two. We're just going to put them in the fridge. I'll do something else with them. That guy can go in there. Let's just save one. We'll do the other one. Oh, we have peppers too. We have peppers, onions, and linguiça to put in this still. Well, let's just do this. So I come from this really big Portuguese family, and in the family are restaurateurs. So part of my growing up, like part of my childhood, involves being around restaurants and bars as a kid and as a teenager and as an adult, the whole thing. But I did work in one of those restaurants, and I didn't like it. And I also worked, I started working young. Like when I was a kid, everybody couldn't wait to get a job. So you would get this thing called a work permit when you were 15 or 15 and a half, or I don't know what it was. You didn't even have to be 16. So I believe that at the beginning when I started, I was just 16, and I was a busboy in a fine dining restaurant. And I really didn't like it, man. I didn't like it at all. But it's not for everyone. Like I said, my son is a chef, and he's like every facet of running a restaurant is a part of his job now. So what we're gonna do is this is going to get butter added to it. There's going to be onions, peppers. We're going to start sauteing that because we want this to cook a little bit before we put it in with the beans. Okay, beans haven't even started yet. They're just still soaking. We're gonna dump and rinse and then start cooking the beans. But this stuff we're gonna also get ready to go. All right. So let's do the pepper next. Now, the reason why I save, so there's a whole, also this is more stuff that I've learned from everything. If you're cutting stuff up, you're chopping vegetables. You're chopping vegetables, and the last thing that you're going to chop is going to be, or one of the things that you're going to chop is going to be onions. That's going to be the last thing that you're going to chop. It'll be the last thing that you're going to chop up on the board. Just because keeping the onions last, it minimizes my own personal discomfort. Not that onions, when I chop them, always make me cry, because they don't always do that. But the onion, the juice from the onion is so strong, right? So that when you keep chopping and you're going through everything, if you did the onions first, there would be onion juice everywhere, right? And the knife would be, everything you touched would be onion now. Not that that matters that much, because we are going to just saute all this together, but it's just the way that I learned it. It's just the way that I do it. Save the onion for last, people. Cooking beans was something that my mother did all the time. Portuguese beans. This isn't necessarily the bean that she would choose to make Portuguese beans out of. Usually it would be pinto beans. And what we're doing here today is navy beans. I just don't have pinto beans. So she would add certain spices that all came from her family, my family recipe, my grandmother's recipe. I'll show it to you in a second after we chop these up. So this was almost like a year-round thing, like when she would make beans, because they would go with a lot of different things. Mainly breakfast. Mainly the Portuguese beans that she would make would be a side dish for eggs, for fried eggs or scrambled eggs, something like that. And for me, I like to eat healthy, and I'm always looking for different sources of fresh protein, good additions to my diet. And I look back on how I raised my kids and how I was raised, and I remember, I'm like, geez, I used to feed these kids eggs every day, right? And we ate healthy. And these beans, man, these beans are just going to be it's just pure protein, especially once we add the linguiça. So this is a big pot of beans, and even though I am just me now, like I might not even, so I make these beans, and even though the kids live right here, they live in the next building over, they live next door, I won't even give any, unless they come over during this situation, I don't even give them beans, because I make this so often. What I'll do is I'll make a huge pot, and then I will separate them into different containers and freeze them, and I will eat these beans over the next month probably. And that's what this is. But if the kids come over and they're like, oh, what is that? Dad, are you making beans? Sure, I'll give them some. But they're like complete adults now. They're like, if I gave them some of everything that I cook, like that was, like at the beginning, I would make like whole tri-tips, when I first moved when we became neighbors a couple of years ago. And I'd be like, hey, I made you guys a tri-tip. And they're like, thanks, Dad. I mean, they got their own life. They got a fridge full of food too. They're eating and everything. And I'm bringing over them all this food to them. I know it's goofy, but yeah. So the linguiça, we're going to do that. We do that at the end. So what I was saying earlier about the onion doesn't necessarily pertain to this particular situation, because the onion is what we're going to do next. hear the monkeys from up there. So, like I was saying, this is like my cooking skills are like the skills of like a glorified pool boy. Like I can do like a bunch of jobs on a yacht, and one of them is I can throw food together real quick, right? And I'm really good at opening bottles of champagne and bottles of wine as well. If you're younger, like if you're a younger bachelor and you're watching my videos, pay attention, man. I'm 60 years old. I'm just telling you what worked for me. And this type of skill that I'm showing you right now, the ability to do this quickly and have a conversation, tell a joke at the same time, stop to mix someone a drink or something like that, and fix the sprinklers. Wait, hold on, what's going on? Or the pool filter? I got it. And then come right back to this in 5 minutes? Bro, women will notice that. They do notice that. So have like these skills that are at like multi-level, you know? Be able to, you know, multi-talented is what you want. Be I don't know. Don't be one-dimensional. So we're going to save the rest of this onion too. Right there. Butter, real butter. I'm just going to start with a half one of these. Put that right there. Let me see, where is it? Sorry about that. All right. So, the recipe book. So this is my family cookbook. This is my family name, Reese. This cookbook was compiled by my older sister. This is a picture of my grandfather's ranch. I don't know who these people are, but I'm related to them. This is the this is like 1920 or I don't know, maybe 1915. So inside of here are all of family photos and all the recipes from all the people that came before me. This is the generation before me. This is my mother and her father and mother and siblings. This is my grandmother seated right here. Seated in her arms is my mother. This picture was taken in 1926. My mother was born in 1923. She was 3 years old. This is my grandfather. He came to America from the Azores when he was 18. He had 13 children. Most of them were girls. These are all of my aunts and uncles. In my videos, I talk about all of these people sometimes. I learned from all of these people. Right here is my Aunt Emily. She kind of partly raised me. It's my grandparents. So let me just find a picture of the cousins so you can see how big this family became. So in here are that's my grandparents at the beach. Here's my grandparents. They lived in Pacific Grove eventually after they retired. So the bean recipe that I'm cooking from comes from this book, but it's nothing like it originally was. So these are all of my cousins. This is me and my cousins. Seated right in the front, I am the youngest. Remember how young my mother was with her parents and all of her siblings? I am the youngest cousin right here. This is me. These are all of my siblings. Like this is my brother, my sister back here. These are all of my cousins that I grew up around, and that's why I talk. And this is my grandmother right here. She's 102 right here, I think. But like this is my cousin Donald, who at this point is back from Vietnam, but he's still in the military. He still works for the government. And then years later, him and I ended up meeting up in being stationed in Seoul, Korea at the same time. I was in the army stationed in Seoul, and then he was working for the government as like a GS-13 civilian. We ended up having a great time in Korea. Really weird. Like, look at the age difference. He's like a Vietnam vet right here, and I'm like 5. But then 15 years later, after this, he was... Anyway, you get it. But this is all my cousins. And in here is the bean recipe. It's going to be soups, salads, and vegetables right there. Grandma's Portuguese beans. So, if you're watching the video and you're interested, this is the recipe that I use and how I make my beans. But my recipe is completely, off of this. If I wanted to make my beans taste the way that my grandmothers and my mothers and my aunts tasted, I would add these seasonings and do it the way that they used to do it. But I don't. I just completely wing it. But I guess it's similar because of the connection in my heart. This is my grandmother. This is my mother. And these are some of my aunts and my Uncle Joe right here. All right. We're going to save the onion for something else later. We'll put it in here for now. All right. Next step. We're going to turn that on to medium and just let it sit at the very beginning. And we'll throw a spatula underneath it in a second to make sure it doesn't stick. Now we're going to do the beans. So we come back to the sink. Come back to the sink. Let's take the beans out of this. Let's dump this water. Let's run some cold water over this again. Again, we're just kind of rinsing and washing and very little, I'll go like this. Now for the first time, we're going to be dumping the beans into the pot without the colander. Going to have all these beans stuck out through the bottom like this. You just got to mess with them and pop them back in. I mean, unless you have like a normal colander that doesn't do this sort of thing, which most people do. I just have like this messed up weird one. That's good. All right. Now we come over here. We can add warm water now. It doesn't have to be cold. Because we're going to start adding heat to this now. This is going to go on the stove and we're going to get it boiling. And then we're going to reduce it to a slow simmer. And we want a lot of water. I don't measure anything. That's the other thing. I don't do a lot of measuring. That's pretty good for now, but we'll probably add more water later. Matter of fact, we probably... that's okay. Okay, let's come over here. Let's move this big cast iron skillet. I messed up my hand. So, I messed up my hand recently. Just barely. It's just such a weird injury. Anyway, exercising, lifting weights. I did something to this knuckle. I mean, it looks perfectly fine. First I taped, and supported for like a week, and I got tired of that. Now it's been a month and it's still such a nagging injury that you don't realize how much, I'm right-handed, you don't realize how much you do with your left hand, even as a right-handed person, until you injure yourself. And so everything here is fine, but like this, dude, like I can't, like everything for like the past month, all of my exercising is done with loose grips because of this damage right here. Something I did something, I don't know. It'll, what are you gonna do? It'll just heal on itself, even if it's like a broken bone, which it isn't. It doesn't matter. You just got to try not to use it. But I get so tired of having it taped. So it feels better if I tape it, but I get so tired of having it taped, you guys. All right. So the beans. Let's turn these all the way up here. All right. Put a lot of heat on those beans. Get those going. Do that, and then come over here. Make sure nothing is sticking. Looks pretty good. Put the butter down there. And it's linguiça time. Linguiça is a staple of the Portuguese diet. It is mixed into so many different things that we eat. But just like these beans, as I mentioned earlier, it's mostly breakfast items. It's mostly breakfast items that it's mixed into. So with this linguiça, we're making a soup. So, you know, it's like a bean soup. So we want to cut the linguiça into little pieces, not only to make it bite-sized like those vegetables that we just cut up, but also because we want as much of the spices that are in the linguiça to get into the beans. Now, you might have noticed, like in my grandmother's recipe and in my mother's recipe, they also put ground beef and bacon. And for the same reason, to add more protein and also to flavor it up. Now, the linguiça, it's got a real distinct Portuguese flavor. All of the spices that are inside of it that make it red like this. See, look. See, this is just pork sausage. But inside of here is a special blend of hot, special Portuguese spicy sausage that will spice it up. So let's even make this one smaller. That's okay for the first one. Then we want these to be little, just like everything else. How are you doing? How's everything going your way? Thanks for watching, whoever you are. If this is your first time watching one of my videos or first time to my channel. Not really a cooking channel. I'm an everything channel, kind of a hobbyist maybe, a hobby channel, but really I'm more of an artist. I have a history of being an artist, a multi-dimensional and multidisciplinary artist. So that's what's happening here. I have fun with the videos. I make them about whatever I feel like making them about. But my hobbies tend to lean towards action figures, toys, comic books, stuff like that. And so that's what a lot of the videos are about. But then also, it kind of turned into a sort of a lifestyle channel because I like doing other things too, right? You know, I'm fully retired. What work I do is from home. I live in the mountains in California. I have kids and grandkids. Twice divorced, happily single. I exercise every day. I eat healthily. I'm a veteran. What else? Yeah, that's kind of it. Art-wise, I do everything. I've acted, I've danced, I've painted. I like to sing. I draw. I don't know. Write. I write. And I make these videos. The videos, every video on this channel is shot in one take. I don't do any editing. I don't add anything. I shoot it as it is and I upload it. I like doing it that way. I like the feeling of doing it that way. I've always done it that way. So when I first started doing this, I was paying more attention to what I perceived as mistakes. So we've got a little sticking going on under here, but that's okay. It's just the potatoes and it'll be all right. You know, I was watching the videos that I made. And I really don't watch. I make a lot of videos. Like sometimes I make 3 or 4 a day. Sometimes I go 4 or 5 or 6 months without making a video because my life will become more focused on something else. And I'm not interested in making videos. Instead, I'm making something else. But I'm always making things. It's what I do. So, now, I don't perceive what I do as mistakes, and instead, what would happen, like I was saying at the beginning, I would think that I needed to correct those mistakes. So I'd go, wow, I just made a video and I just said like 30 times, or I said the same thing over and over, or the audio is so bad and I shot it so poorly. I'm going to remake it. So this was at the beginning. So then I go to remake the video, and it's not quite right either. And then I go to remake it again, and it's not quite right either. And then I think, gosh, I guess I'm supposed to edit this all together, and I have already, you know, it's not like I don't know how to edit. So, you know, I took classes on Final Cut Pro, and I graduated the class, and, you know, I made projects with Final Cut Pro. So I know how to edit. I just don't want to, because I don't want that to be what I'm making. I don't want it to be this process stuff. So that's when I said, I can't do this, man. I'm not going to try and fix anything. I'm just going to shoot it as it is and make it everything one take. So when you watch my videos, like when I'm doing toy reviews or something, sometimes I'll say over and over again, or sometimes something will be messed up. In my eye, those things that some people might view as imperfections, I view them as art. And I view them as the difference between my videos and other people's videos. Other people, they might view it as a mistake and spend moments of their life trying to fix this thing that happened. I just go with the flow. I'm not saying that it's better the way I do it. That's just why I do it and how I do it. I'm just explaining to you why the videos are so shitty. This looks good already, doesn't it, you guys? All right, so another thing that I do is I don't start adding spices until later. Like some people might be, well, dude, aren't you going to salt and pepper that? Not yet. Don't salt and pepper anything yet. Just, we got to wait. We got to let shit cook first. Whoa, Nelly, that's doing what it's supposed to do. You guys want to come in and see? Doing exactly what it's supposed to do. This is just a medley of meat and vegetables, isn't it? Wish I had celery. I had celery yesterday, but it was too soggy, man. I ate the last couple pieces that were still good, and I had to throw it away. It would have messed this up because it was just not fresh. But usually I'll throw celery in here as well. Maybe even red peppers too, to add some color to it. So we're gonna let this sit, and it's kind of like I don't know if this is called par cooking it. I don't know. We're not going to cook this all the way. We just want this to kind of brown up is what we're doing. We want this to kind of get, especially the potatoes. We want the potatoes to get this sort of exterior, this cooked, you know how they get. We want them to have a kind of a cooked crust exterior. Now, if we didn't do this, if we just throw these in the water with the beans right now while they're cooking, everything will become soggy, and we'll end up with a mashed potato soup. because the potatoes, they will break up and it just makes it all cloudy, and you know what it does. So you got to do this. You got to do this step. Let's look at the beans. They're not boiling yet, but they're doing something. Right? They're doing something. Is the burner red? Can you see the burner? Oh, it is. Okay, there we go. We're good. That's my Hong Kong Phooey salt and pepper shaker that I never use. It's real dirty and greasy from sitting next to the stove. But it's Hong Kong Phooey, and it's a salt and pepper shaker. This is the salt, and the car is the pepper. We should put that somewhere and wash it and do something better with it than... let's just put it right back where it was. What the fuck? So, what I will do... I don't like this burner. This is my favorite burner on the stove. I'm sure you have a favorite burner on your stove as well if you cook. So, what I will do is after this is ready, which will be soon. After this is ready... we don't want it to stick anymore. After this is ready, we will throw this into the beans. We'll move the beans over here on this burner, and then we'll throw this into the beans, and then the video will be over, because what happens next is that the beans are going to get turned down to simmer with everything inside of it, and it's all going to simmer for like 2 or 3 or 4 hours sometimes. It just depends to taste. And while that process is happening, that simmering process I just described, that's when you're spicing it. That's when you're taste testing it. That's when you're using a piece of French bread or sourdough to dip into it, to give it the taste test and see if it's ready. That's it, man. I mean, this is pretty quick. We've been doing this for 42 minutes. It's a lifestyle. Maybe you're thinking, gosh, 42 minutes to cook beans? I could have just called Uber Eats, man. I could have. But this is a couple weeks worth of protein-packed food. Now, what I will do with this is that for the next 2 weeks or maybe even a month, when I make my eggs for breakfast in the morning, which I like to do 2 eggs over easy with the runny yolk, these beans with that, it's just bomb. It's like perfect. It's what builds strong bodies and bones and blood and brain. Fresh veggies and protein. There's nothing in here, right? We added that butter. Otherwise, and then we've got the linguiça, which is just pig parts. That's the other thing I forgot to tell you about the linguiça. There's nothing in that linguiça except pig parts and spices. My grandfather used to make linguiça. That was one of his. So we had a dairy ranch, but in addition to the dairy ranch was also swine, was also pigs for making this sausage for all the other Portuguese immigrants, right? And so that was kind of it. It was so he was also he made wine. He did it all. My grandfather. So he had grapes, he had pigs, and he had cows in the very beginning of this place, of the Central Valley in California. At the beginning of the migration of Portuguese people, especially from the Azores Islands. That's where most of all of my relations and a large portion of the Portuguese people that live in California, in Northern California, and in the Valley of California, even in Southern California, are from the Azores. They are from a couple different little islands that are off of the Portuguese coast, a long way off of the Portuguese coast, actually. But yeah, that's it. So let's get our bean stirring spoon. This is the bean stirring spoon. Turn the fan on. We can get rid of this. Here, let me show you something else that I do, man. I guess I learned this from all these people that were in this book, but I completely clean as I go. Okay? So I keep everything, I don't let anything pile up dish-wise. I like to clean as I go because if you're cooking, you don't want to waste time. And wasted time, well, it's the devil's playground. So I wash everything that we just used. And I keep up with it so that it doesn't become overwhelming. Stay on top of it. Especially if you're by yourself and single. I mean, I use the same everything. You know, I still have full everything, but I only need to use a couple spoons and a couple forks and a couple glasses and a couple plates. I just use the same ones. But don't let it get out of hand, because that's the sort of thing that will add to your depression if you're like me. I mean, maybe some people, some people that have certain disorders like obsessive compulsive disorder, or high levels of anxiety or major levels of depression, they actually get comfort out of piles of shit. Okay, they really do. So they find it comforting the way that they organize stuff in just piles, just stacks of shit, right? Clothes, papers, books, all their belongings in stacks, just around the house, like a hoarding situation. Not for me at all, man. And for me, I like to know where everything is. I want it to be in order. I want it to be clean, because if it's not clean, it bugs me, man. It'll bug me. This is my cave. We're inside of my cave. Why would I want my cave to be full of shit, right? So that's that. Okay, this stuff is so good right now. This is like a meal in its own. We could turn it all the way down. Like that. And then the beans, they're doing exactly what we want them to do. So what we can do right now is, I think we can make the switch. So, here. Put this stuff right here. What are you doing? Get in there. Put the beans here. Let's cover them up. Set it right there for now. Alright. So, move the beans over here. We've turned it down and we've got it simmering. And actually, you know what? Let's turn it back up. I want more bubble. I want more boil. Let's go a little quicker. And then we'll stir it. And then we'll be done with the video in a second. So let's take a look at the book. So, if you're interested in cooking and you are enjoying the few cooking videos that I have on this channel, or maybe you're actually enjoying this video, let's look at this book. Maybe you're interested in it, because I think we should make videos about it. I could tell you about all the people. This is my sister, my oldest sister. I could tell you about all the people in here, but we could go through all the recipes. This is our family crest. Look at that wedding picture. I think this is after the earthquake. Like, I think they got married in 1907, 1908. They lived in San Rafael, which is right outside of San Francisco, during the earthquake. My grandfather married the daughter of his boss. The only daughter. The only child. She was the only child of some Portuguese landowners Um, and that's how this all happened. And here they are in probably the 1950s at Asilomar Beach in Pacific Grove, where they ended up retiring and where I ended up living and growing up, and my mother lived as a teenager. Butter ring. There they are also in about the 1950s. My grandparents. There's me again right there. Look at that. Mark, cousin Mark. So this is just full of great stuff. So let's look at this. All-in-one chicken pot, Portuguese cod. I don't know how to pronounce some of this stuff. I could try, but it would be bad. Boy, my sister really did a lot. There's a lot in here. We could go through this whole thing. Cheese guide, roasting meat and poultry, candy making, favorite recipes. So what happened was my sister contacted everyone in the family, and everyone in the whole family contributed recipes. This is Nancy's recipe, baked clam dip. Cheese herb pretzels, it's another recipe of Nancy's. Here's my cousin Nita. This is her cheese mushroom fingers. This is my cousin Lee. This is her chow chow. This is my Aunt Jin. This this is how to make booze. This is how to make booze in Saudi Arabia. Is what this is. Look, this is a moonshine recipe. If this is because my Uncle Ed, he used to work for a bunch of different oil companies, and he used to be in the Middle East all the time. That's what this is about. He used to work for Exxon, I think. Something else, I don't know. Some other oil companies. A bunch. King Crab snack squares. This is from Nita. Here's liqueurs from Bev. Different types of liqueurs to make that she teaches you how to make. It's my cousin Bev. Nancy Mexican mess. A lot of Nancy in here. There's the Perry's, the Ramos Fizz. These are drinks, man. All right. Aunt Jin, Aunt Emily. I just loved my Aunt Emily. Nancy's apricot cobbler, which was Grandma Reese's recipe. Apricot divinity candy. Oh man, Aunt Emily made that. Apricot nuggets that Aunt Clarice made. We need to make all this stuff, right? Shouldn't we try and make these recipes, maybe? I don't know. Maybe you don't care. Maybe there's 3 people that will watch this video. It doesn't really matter. But I might do that. I think I might start making recipes out of this book. From the beginning. Let's go. All right, we're about done. This is going crazy. I've been listening to it. It's not too hot to touch, but it's close. Look, it's wild. So let's turn it all the way down. Get it. Yes. There we go, baby. Here we go. Put it down to like 3. All right, we're gonna put it like on 3, and then we're gonna cover it. Leave like one side cracked open. I'm gonna let it sit. This stuff right here, it's fine for now. It can just sit here and start cooling down, and it's gonna be okay. Like this is gonna sit for about another half hour or 45 minutes, because that's how long we want this to go. It's gonna take about a half hour probably from this to go from the boil to the simmer, but we want to capture it all. Okay. See, we started at all the way up, and it was a red burner, but now we're turning it down to a 3, and it's going to slowly slow down. It's going to be about an hour like this, and we're going to come in and stir it, but not very much, not very often, because we want to keep that steam and that heat trapped inside there above the water. In about an hour's time, when it starts, the boil's gone and it's simmered, we will come and dump all of this in there, cover it back up, and let it simmer for hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours. All right. Thanks for watching and hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this 1-hour video of me cooking some beans. I almost turned the camera around again because I forgot that we could do this. Yeah. Been me the whole time who was talking. The disembodied voice is me. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed watching me cook these beans. Come back some other time and I'll make some other stuff. Maybe I'll make another video after the beans are done doing a taste test and showing you how it all turned out. Have a great day or evening. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.